Hello and welcome to the Wednesday check-in here on Landy's Crypto Corner, powered by the Goxstein News Network. Today is, what's today? June 4th, 2025. And we're looking at Bitcoin as usual here on the daily to start. Now, I did have a big video that came out on Monday. It was fairly long, but it was very important to get that out of the way so that we can monitor the price action on the dailies and weeklies going forward for the rest of this month, because there are such big closures, incoming with this June candle, which is the monthly, 2-month, 3-month, which is your quarterly, and the 6-month. So this is an important time period to really be paying attention to what's happening with price action. And Bitcoin did paint another lower high, but there is opportunity on the daily here for both the bulls and the bears. And we're going to get into this really quick here. It's not very complex. This is a daily downtrend. We have 2 lower highs, 1 lower low. So we almost have a complete downtrend here. But this presents opportunity on the bullish side in that if the bulls do come up and take out 106,900, almost $107,000 here, just above the basis band, which is the 20 simple moving average on the daily, then they can break the downtrend. And it's a fairly small downtrend. I will say that on the bearish side, though, if we do see the support at 104 breakdown, and then, of course, the lows get taken out here at 103.1, that wouldn't look too great, especially heading in towards the end of the week, if that were to happen. The closer that happens towards the Sunday, that's closer to the weekly painting a closing high. Now, granted, it is a weekly closing higher high, but, that at least would start to paint the picture that Bitcoin would likely come and test. Now, around the 100 to 101 area, around the low side structures here, we'll turn on the local support and resistance zones of interest in just a moment. But anywhere below that 103.1, pay attention to the bottom side of this consolidation. Closing, right about that 102.8, slightly below the swing low here of this last lower low of the current trend. And then obviously the 101 to 100,700, if that area is dropped, next big area to pay attention to. Yes, there is historical areas of interest over here, but the next big one to really pay attention to, in my opinion, is right around the 98,000 to the top side of this consolidation at $95,000. And it dawned on me that I haven't actually shown this in a little while. So we're going to take the move from the bottom here to current price action in terms of the spot volume as a range of buying and selling. So let me go ahead and get the fixed volume range profile utility here up. Just kind of show you why that area is so significant. It's actually been raised a little bit now, but you can see the most traded volume coming right in this area here, right around $98,000. 96 being kind of the highest traded volume area, right around that $96,000 area. And then this is value area high, point of control, and value area low for those that are interested. But in this case, kind of taking the move up on the breakout to the current structure that we have, it's a pretty thin area right there that the bulls would need to hold should this little consolidation up here start to break down. Now, Bitcoin is below, it's kind of below the closing highs, obviously at 106. We'll take a look at that. And currently trading around this lower high at that 104.7 to 8 area. If it does break down, I'm looking right to that 98. The point of control there, right around $96,000. Top side of this consolidation structure at 95. If that starts to fail, well, all bets are off. We're headed back to the weekly at minimum. And that is a big weekly higher low structure at 93.5. And that's pretty much the bottom side of the range here. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. That's actually the wrong thing to get rid of, but we'll put that back on there as I knock over that. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at a few other things. Let's go ahead and turn on support and resistance areas of interest. And this is a chart that those of you that watch me pretty regularly are very familiar with. Bitcoin is right at a very important area. bouncing off 104, even getting a beautiful close open right on it. And just as a reminder of what this is this big December 5th candle. I forget what the news was, but basically we put a low in at 92. And then we saw the high in at 104. I believe it was based on some probably some posts that were sending the market into a frenzy. There was also a lot of open interest. There was like a massive amount of open interest in this area. Predominantly long. It went down, it went up and then went straight down and then closed above. Actually, where did this close? This closed right around $97,000. Yeah. Of course, maintained higher low structure, went up and made that higher high, that 108.4, and then we had the 109.360, and of course now we have the 112. But this was defining an area of interest. We had a high on a close put in here, plus that swing high at 104 to right around 101, a little bit over 101. This is right by the 1272, which is at 103.645. This 1272 is 27.2% above the prior cycle high there. If you were to take a log scale fib pull from $69,000 to 15.5, which is basically the prior cycle high to bear market low. This puts it at 27.2% above $69,000. Very important area. You can also see that the lower first standard deviation is right here. If we did start to close below, expect tests in and around the lower second, which is, to be fair, slightly lower than the 103-100 area. But if it did turn into a wick and close back above, yeah, lower low swing, we'd have to see where it closes from there. If it closes equal low close, if it does head down, then bulls might have a shot still. But if it also just holds above here without swinging down there by the lower second, then the bulls could have a shot at taking out the 106.9, 107 area up by the basis band here. Of course, that would require recovery of the close open equal high structure. So on the daily, we had equal high closes up here before the big dump off to the lower low structure. And in this case, if we did start to see a reclaim of that, I would look towards this last lower high at that 106.9. So any closes, even in lower term timeframes above 106, just be aware of that area. If we start to see closures above there, well, bulls have the opportunity, honestly, to round it right back to the previous all-time high here at the 109.360, 110 area, and I'd look right back to 112. We need to see closes above 112 and the upper second standard deviation at just under 111 here in order to see, expansion again. And we are getting a compression here. Now, that would be the bullish case. Break the downtrend, head back up and start reclaiming some of these areas. Get above the prior all-time high there. Start working its way to the 110, 112 area and then break out and close above. That would be a nice blue sky breakout on expansion. But to the downside, if we do start to see this area by the lower second, it can get a downtrend, like a full downtrend right into that lower second and still not do much as long as this structure over here holds up and right around that 101 to 100,700. Swings below are fine, like 100K swing is fine. We start seeing any closes below this 100,700 though, that's where I'm going to start looking at that 98 to the top side candles there at 95, with that point of control being right there where we saw this prior consolidation prior to the breakdown there, right around $96,000, pretty much where all the closes were coming in. If that area does start to break down, even in lower term timeframes, you still got to, even though 95 is an area of interest, pay very, very close attention because that weekly higher low on a close, that is the last higher low on a close for trend on the weekly, and that's at 93.5. Anywhere below there, it's right back to the original range here, range lows that are up here before the big breakdown. And that's between right around 92 and 88,700. Of course, we had a weekly higher low swing. So where we had this higher low close at 93.5, we had a higher low swing at 89. That's all fair game on even lower term time frame closes, obviously below 93.5. So pay very close attention. This is the time to identify setups and opportunity in the market on both the short and long side. So you have to interpret whether or not, based on your analysis, not mine. Hopefully you find confluence with mine, or I raise points that that make you think about what you're looking at as well that might help you out. But in this case, it's pretty clear. I operate on a conditional basis when it comes to analysis. And if we start hitting the checkpoints to the upside, 106, I'm looking to that basically 107 lower high, starts a break. That's a trend break. and still offers quite a bit of opportunity for the bulls to the upside. To the downside, we start seeing 101 breakdown. The bottom side right here, 101 to 101. Start looking at that low at 100,700 and see what kind of reaction we get out of there. It can swing below. Look for the daily close to try and close back above if you're remaining bullish on this zone of interest. Otherwise, we're looking down, right? Now, this last lower high did throw bearish divergence as well. So we have another drive of bearish divergence on this structure here. But there is plenty of bullish divergence that could be, yeah, there is still plenty of bullish divergence in terms of hidden bull divs that could be built here. I also want to pay close attention to momentum, because if the support holds, the 101 to 104 area especially, we could potentially see a turn in momentum on the daily. 100 and $5,000 would do that, but it doesn't do much for trend. So we still would need to see a momentum turn plus a trend break, which is only going to come above on closes above $107,000 or so. So keep that in mind. Not too much more to say on the daily here. Just a little bit of a quick refresher on the weekly, just so we understand the importance of that 103,100 area. That is last week's low. And it's also, just above there, right where price traded down to almost here, is the upper first standard deviation for the Bollinger Band set. And that's going to be at just above 103.1 at 103.450 right now. But if we start seeing any closes below there on the daily that lead into a weekly close on Sunday below there, that will solidify this as a higher high structure on a closing basis, not just a swing. The swing was solidified with last week's bearish closure, but we did not get a closing higher high. We only got the higher high solidified on a swing basis. So again, because we went from lower low to higher high, and not just a higher high on, not just any old higher high, it's a new all-time high plus a new all-time high close. Statistically speaking, got to be on the lookout for if a high is painted here or even higher, right? We're looking for higher low equal low structure from there. And then we really evaluate, because that higher low equal low structure becomes a trend reversal setup. Trend reversal confirmation would be back above this higher high on closes. So again, I'll address this all again, on the Friday wrap up, and take a look at this stuff, kind of break it down. But that's quick and dirty. Maybe we'll look at like 12 hours. 12 hour giving us an edge. It's probably trying to turn. It already did. Got to be careful if trend doesn't shift. This is just a bearish reset on momentum. So 104,320 needs to be maintained for kind of for momentum to remain to the upside, but it doesn't do much below the 107 region because it's still a downtrend, right? So if the downtrend continues, that's just a bearish reset on momentum. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 4 hour and see if there's anything interesting there in terms of setup here. As long as the lows hold, it's got a chance. Downward pressure below 106 or 105.677, so basically 105.7. If the lows hold, I would expect this to try to turn around and make an honest effort to run for the highs. Just be aware of any lower high failures or swing fails above 107. That would be the main thing to look out for if it does start to run back up. Otherwise, we just watch the low side structure, 103.1, or anything below 104 essentially. Pay very close attention to the 103.1 low over here. And then we can start investigating these lows if it starts to get there. That's going to be it for me. You all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, and evening, no matter where you are in the world. Please trade safe. And of course, as always, stay safe. With all of that being said, Landy out. Take care.